Turning now to a stunning jailhouse confession concerning Minnesota's largest welfare fraud scam and the potential criminal incompetence of Governor Tim Walz. We like to call him Time's Up Tim. Adding to a chorus of recent accusations, the woman convicted for her leading role in the state's Feeding Our Future scandal, Amy Bach, is now pointing her finger directly at the governor and claiming that both he and his fellow Democrats were well aware of the fraud for much longer than they're all letting on. Speaking from her cell in county lockup, where she awaits sentencing and faces decades behind bars, the fraud ringleader now says that despite protests to the contrary, state officials continued approving and then paying out a large number of taxpayer-funded benefits to corrupt organizations long after fraud concerns were first brought to their attention. Furthermore, she alleges that even after she rolled over and identified a number of suspicious companies to those same officials, they completely ignored her warnings and instead continued to fork out the dough rather than pause their payments long enough to do an investigation. The convict goes on to say that in her mind, both Governor Walz and his sidekick, Attorney General Keith Ellison, they should be held accountable for their negligence, that she truly believes they knew what was going on, and that there needs to be a thorough probe into their actions. She also says that if the dynamic duo wasn't aware of what was going on right under their noses, as they now claim, that's even more alarming. And I kind of agree. For their part, Ellison's team basically says that the stool pigeon has no idea what she's talking about, that she completely lacks credibility, and that she's a liar, fraudster, and manipulator of the highest order. Well, they kind of got a point with that last one. But she can't be all bad, and maybe she's a big hit on the karaoke circuit at the local bowling alley. I don't know. In the meantime, even America's favorite grandpa, Bernie Sanders, is appalled by what's going on in Minnesota, saying that stealing money from a program to feed hungry kids is completely disgusting behavior, which should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And look at Bernie actually stepping up to the plate, doing and saying the right thing. Additionally, Vice President J.D. Vance chiming in with some breaking developments as well, and he says that based on recent findings, now appears as though Minnesota's massive welfare fraud is a drop in the bucket compared to what's going on in my home state, right here, California, that the Trump administration has already pinpointed nearly $7 billion in the Golden State fraud, and that it's only the tip of the iceberg to what they're likely to discover. Hey, California, in my mind, you're the next star on the big news roundup, and I'll tell you now, get ready for your close-up. Final thought, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. Just for clarification, over the past several days, thousands of people have left comments for us right here complaining that nothing has been done and nobody's been held accountable for a disgusting amount of fraud which has happened in the state of Minnesota. Not exactly accurate, and as we pointed out on a number of occasions and right here on the program, literally dozens of people have already been convicted and they're serving time in the joint. Now, one of those convicts is more than happy to throw some folks under the bus, and listen carefully to what this Amy Block prisoner is saying. She was arrested, tried, found guilty. She's behind bars, and at this point, why not rat out the other guys? She was there ground level in on the scam, and she's being very candid when she says the governor and the attorney general, we call them the tag team of Walz and Ellison, they were aware of the fraud before the big guns, the federal prosecutors, jumped in. What more evidence do you need? Stay on the trail. Stick with the program. More of those highfalutin Minnesota arrests, they're going to happen real soon. And in time, we think some of the more high-profile players will appear before the cameras to have their mugshots taken. And if Editor Pranov were here right now, I'm sure he'd show us a mugshot right over my shoulder of that Tim Walz fella. Pranov the Magnificent. Are you in the building anywhere nearby? I can't see what's happening over my shoulder, but I hope it's there. Now, look, I'm no highfalutin government official, but if I was running the state, I'd know full well if hundreds of millions, and by some accounts, billions of dollars were being stolen on my watch. At the very least, even if folks like Walz didn't know, then he should be charged with gross malfeasance, incompetence, unsavory ineptitude, and just, for good measure, clumsiness, because he looks kind of clumsy. Hey, Bill Thomas here. If you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. And don't forget to check out our channel, News Roundup with Bill Thomas. And that's where you can catch our full program and more videos. And we'll see you right back here next time.